Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back with another video. Today we have the Fostex TH616. Now this is a headphone that's really known for its wooden designs, and I think Fostex's brand is known for their kind of wooden work. And I think that's really cool. They also make a lot of different variations of the headphones with different kind of tunings based off of how, the shape of it and what type of tuning stuff they have in there. And so this is kind of the latest iteration of their TH600, which is their closed back version. That looks really cool. This is kind of their open back version of that. Now, I think this headphone is really special because it's kind of has the wooden kind of character. There's not that many headphones that have that nowadays. And then it's obviously, I think the mid-range of this headphone is probably the best aspect that I like about this headphone. I think that's where it excels. But I think a lot of people know Fostex to have really good bass. I would say it does have decently good bass, but there's some kind of, things I want to talk about the bass. But yeah, I think this is a pretty cool headphone. I think a lot of people are interested in this if they like Fostex before. If you haven't heard about these headphones before, we'll talk about the sound and see if you guys kind of like it. Anyways, let's dive into the details. All right, so let's unbox the Fostex TH616. Get inside. Got this little manual. Got this long cable. We have the headphone protected. It was actually raining today. And wow, you can see the Fostex. All right, so taking a closer look at the TH616 by Fostex. I mean, the wood grain on this thing is honestly spectacular. I really do like that wood look that this has. And even kind of like the design is very unique. I haven't really seen anything with this type of like strip lines from the thinner to thicker. And then also a layer one on the inside. You can actually see there's actually some like, I guess, felt material on the inside that I assume is to dampen the kind of headphone. But overall, this head cup design is honestly really nice, and I really think it looks good. There are some like minor imperfections in the cutting of it, but overall, I think it has a very unique look, and this is pretty much what you're paying for is a lot of this wood cup, especially for the price that this comes in at of $900. Now you have this classic Fostex headband, so you have extension over here. This has all the swivel you kind of need as well, so it has a really good range as you can see. And then the cups also move up and down, so you have all the adjustability you need to make this a comfortable headphone. And then of course you have the padding up here. There's a light amount of padding, but I personally didn't really find an issue with it. It didn't really seem too heavy for me personally. And then moving on to the kind of ear cups or the ear pads, I should say. So ear pads are these kind of gigantic leather ear pads, and they're actually angled, so you can see that they're kind of thinner in the front. And then if I move it to the back, they're kind of thicker. So this gives you a little bit better imaging. And I did notice that the imaging of this is actually pretty good too because of it. So that's definitely a win for this. And they're really nice and soft type of pads. So I do kind of enjoy these pads, and they're pretty big for me. So I don't really feel like my ears are, hitting against it. But I wouldn't say they're the, I guess, deepest pads ever, but I didn't really have any issues with comfort with this headphone. Now we can talk about the cable. So right here we have the connectors are detachable. It comes with probably the longest cable known to mankind. Honestly, this thing feels like you can reach across your whole entire room. So I don't know if people are using it for professional use, but you're definitely getting a really, really long and thick, and it's definitely heavy. And I don't know, it's not very malleable either, but I don't really think that's an issue. Honestly, it's just a long cable. And then it is a kind of 6.35. So, if you want to use a mobile device, you're going to have to get a different or adapter or anything like that. But yeah, that's the cable. For the extension, surprisingly, this headband is pretty big. Like I only needed kind of like, I guess, one on each side or two on each side. So like I didn't even need to extend the band that much. So this should fit a lot of heads. It gets pretty big. And of course, these are made of metal. So, they reinforced it. So it shouldn't be breaking that easily at all. So overall, I do like the comfort and the design, especially like these wood ear cups. Honestly, they just look so nice. Like, damn, just take a look at that. And I feel like it's worth noting that like when you have a wooden headphone, you kind of get almost a unique headphone. Like every headphone's a little different because the grain on the wood is different, making I feel like a headphone more of a like personalized kind of device. You feel like you're getting something more unique versus something generic that everyone else can purchase. So this is kind of cool in that aspect. And of course, like I said, I think that's why it costs a little bit more, honestly. And that's why people are probably willing to pay a little bit more for this headphone because of this nice kind of wood design and grain. But yeah, in terms of sound, like I've tried a lot of different like Fostex headphones. So I did a whole review comparing like the 600 to like the 900s I heard and to their kind of cheaper, the like RP series that everyone likes to mod. But honestly, for this one, it kind of sounds like the 600, right? So when it comes to the sound of the Fostex TH616, I do think the sound of this is very V-shaped. It is kind of similar, like the driver definitely sounds the same as the TH600 that I heard, just like a retuned version in an open back design, I think. And the thing is, it has a boosted bass, so you get a lot of mid bass, and you also get a boosted treble, which is what V-shape means, right? And then the mid-range is kind of a little bit stepped back. I think that really, really accurately defines what this headphone sounds like. So when I start down low in the bass, I would say the bass of this is actually pretty decent in the sense of like, these have 50 millimeter drivers. So the bass of this sounds like it comes kind of all around you, which is really good. So in the sense of like having a big and large soundstage, it has that. But I wouldn't say the depth of the soundstage is as wide as like some headphones, but it definitely is kind of wider than a closed back headphone. So the soundstage is pretty good. But going back to the bass has, you know, a good presence compared to like something like my HD58X. This one definitely sounds like the bass is coming from all around you, which I really like. However, I do think the sub bass of this headphone definitely needs a little bit of work. It definitely rolls off pretty heavily with a boost in the mid bass. The sub bass sounds even more rolled off in my opinion. So I can't really hear much notes down there versus when it comes to mid bass, that's where I think it excels the most. I think compared to other open back headphones where kind of the bass is kind of linear and flat, this is definitely a little bit boosted. So it gives you a lot more excitement in the mid bass. So I think a lot of people will gravitate to that type of sound with this and will probably enjoy that about this headphone. Now, when it comes to kind of like the speed of the bass, I do notice that it's a little bit slow. It doesn't seem as like quick and snappy as some other headphones I've tried. So like even something like the HD5X kind of sound like the bass notes were a little bit snappier, or the whole driver just sounds a little faster. Well, this one seems to be a little bit more slower paced, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to mid-range, I think that is the part that is the best part about this headphone. I think, like I said, this headphone has the reputation of having a really good bass. However, I feel like the mid-range is better than the bass of this headphone. And I think the mid-range is the thing that most people will really like about this headphone. I think if you like listening to a lot of like bands, a lot of male vocalists, I feel like that is where this headphone truly shines. It sounds honestly excellent. The voices sound like they're just like in your face in the sense of like they're just very forward. They're very dynamic. You can definitely hear the voices and it just sounds so clear and clean on this headphone, more so than like many headphones I've heard. So I think that really is the shining moment of this headphone. And, you know, I actually had my fiance try this headphone to get her opinion about this headphone as well. And she really did enjoy a lot of bands. So we were listening to some Dayglow and like, Jesus, it sounded really good on this headphone. Now, when it comes to kind of the female vocals and a little bit more of like the upper mid-range and the treble, that's where I kind of hear the kind of the upper mid-range seems to be stepped back a little bit, which is honestly not unlike the TH600. That one also had a upper mid-range dip. So some of the female vocals just sound just slightly step back, not as like forward in your face. But then I think where this headphone kind of really is a little bit of a problem for me personally is that the kind of upper treble is kind of boosted a little bit. So it is a little bit overly airy. But the other factor is that the S's and T's, so like the t's and the t's, get kind of overemphasized and they seem a little bit fatiguing for me over time. I think that is probably the flaw of that kind of enhanced type of tuning. However, at the same time, that's like, for me, I don't like as bright headphones, but I know a lot of other people actually really like this and are fine with this. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world, but I do think it gets a little fatiguing for me. But when my fiance tried it, I asked her if she liked the treble? Was there any issues with it? And she said no, it was fine for her. She said she actually liked the way that it kind of enhanced those details a little bit more and they stood out more. So there you go, the difference of opinion. However, she was listening to more mid-range, like male vocalist type of singers. When you start focusing more on female singers, I feel like that's where this one kind of gets into a little bit more of an issue, in my opinion. So, you know, it depends on the music you're listening to, I would say. But overall, I find the female vocals to be very kind of, you know, they're present, maybe overly enhanced, and the treble being a little bit boosted, but that can help with the detail. But I would say the kind of the mid treble of this seems to be pretty good. Like, I feel like there's a lot of information that you can get out of that, which I liked a lot about this headphone actually. Now, overall, where does that put us? So I think overall it does have a little bit of a, you know, roll off in the sub bass and enhanced treble, but overall I found this to be actually really enjoyable. My fiance also said the same thing. Like, she listened to it for a while and she's like, yeah, I actually really like this headphone, and she wanted to keep listening to it. So for me, that means this headphone sounds pretty good. I enjoyed it too. I would just say if you're treble sensitive, then, you know, that's the only thing you should probably watch out for with this headphone. Now, when it comes to like soundstage and imaging, like I mentioned already, it's large. It's not as wide, but it's still wider than any closed back headphone. So soundstage and imaging is really good. I would say the imaging is actually quite impressive on this headphone. Like, I was playing competitive gaming, so I played some Valorant just to kind of test it out. And honestly, I would probably score it like a 7 out of 10 for imaging. But I do think the part about this headphone is the kind of the separation, I guess, about the sound. So like when there's multiple notes and many notes kind of playing at the same time, how easy is it for you to kind of, you know, delineate each one of those? And I would say, like, because the driver seems a little bit slower, it doesn't kind of separate the details as well as I would expect it to. So that's something that I notice about it, especially for like $900. Obviously, it's a lot better than like cheaper headphones, but at $900, it is, you know, kind of holds it to a higher standard, right? So for that, I would say the separation is okay. Now, that really leads me to the conclusion. I actually think this is a pretty enjoyable headphone for people who don't mind a little bit of a brighter headphone. If you like more mid-bass, a little bit more bass, a little bit better V-shaped type of sound, then I think you'll actually enjoy this headphone a lot. However, if you're looking for like the EDM god of bass, this is definitely not it. I feel like a lot of people said this headphone was like really good for bass. I was really excited for that, but I didn't find it to be, you know, an EDM type of deep bass. So I wouldn't say this is like the bass focused headphone. In my opinion, this is more of a mid-range focused type of headphone. So if you like mid-range, like your male vocalist, you're really gonna enjoy this headphone. Even female vocals can sound pretty decent on this if you'd like it to be a little bit more boosted and a little bit more enhanced in the treble. And yeah, that's kind of where it leads me for this. Now, I would say pricing wise, this is kind of, you know, $200 more than the closed back variant. That's 700, so this is 900. So it definitely is creeping up in the price point. But, you know, if you want a wooden headphone, you like the Fostexes, you'll probably like this headphone too. Honestly, if you have a TH600 and you wanted a different sounding version of it, a different look, you're probably gonna like this one, to be honest. So anyways, I hope this video helped you guys. Please like and subscribe down below. Helps my videos out. And, you know, I'll see you guys in the next video.